Hi, Professor. Do you have a few minutes?
Certainly, Delta. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm trying to figure out this rhetoric thing. I watched the PowerPoint, and I've listened very carefully in class, but I'm still a bit confused.
I understand, Delta. Rhetoric is a new concept to you, at least in the way that we're using it in college.
So, I know that rhetoric means to communicate with a purpose.
That's correct, Delta.
So what exactly do you mean by communicating with a purpose, Professor? I mean, doesn't all communication have a purpose?
Absolutely, Delta. And that is why rhetoric is so important. Even a grocery list can have rhetoric behind it.
Really? How could a grocery list possibly have rhetoric?
Because it has a purpose. Granted, most examples of rhetoric that we study in this class are going to be a bit more obvious, such as speeches and essays. However, there will be times when we search for more subtle examples of rhetoric as well.
Now, you said that rhetoric is made up of 3 components, right?
That's correct, Delta. We call it the rhetorical triangle.
Right, I remember that. But I'd never even heard of those 3 words before. What were they again?
You mean ethos, pathos, and logos?
Right. That's them. What exactly do those mean?
Well, ethos is how your audience views you as a person. This is based on a variety of factors, and varies from audience to audience and situation to situation. For example, would you want a plumber to perform a heart surgery on you?
Oh, heavens no.
Why not? After all, he knows a lot about how pumps work and how liquid flows through pipes. And isn't your circulatory system just a giant network of pumps and pipes?
Well, yes, but he really isn't qualified to work on people, just houses and stuff.
What makes him qualified to perform a heart surgery?
He must have gone to medical school and gotten training if he's licensed to be a heart surgeon. There's probably some board at the hospital that makes sure that he can do his job. And he's probably done it before.
Very good, Delta. All of those things contribute to his perceived ethos by you, his audience, when he tells you that he is going to cut your body open while you are unconscious and do potentially traumatic things to one of the most vital organs that keeps you alive. Now, would you want that same doctor trying to fix your pipes if they burst?
Probably not.
Why not? You would trust him with your life, but not your plumbing.
Well, yes. I mean, he's qualified to work on hearts, but not on plumbing. Ooh, I see what you are saying. His ethos depends on the situation.
Exactly. Now, what if that same heart surgeon had operated on your grandmother, and she had died on the operating table even though he had done his best? There was no medical way to save her. Would you let him operate on you, even if he'd saved hundreds of other people?
I don't think so.
Okay, what if it wasn't your grandmother or anybody else that you knew? All you knew about this heart surgeon was that he had saved hundreds of lives and only lost one person. Would you let him operate on you then?
Yes. Yes, I think so. After all, only losing one person out of hundreds is pretty good odds.
Right. So the individual experience with the heart surgeon in these 2 examples is different. They are 2 different audiences. Ethos always changes from one audience to the next. As such, you do not have a single ethos, but numerous ones that constantly change from audience to audience. Anytime you compose, you are composing for a specific audience. Therefore, you must be aware of your ethos with the particular audience for whom you are composing.
Right. Because if I'm the heart surgeon writing to the granddaughter of the woman who died on my table, I would need to write differently than if I was writing to a new patient. My ethos is dependent upon my audience. Okay, that makes sense. But what about the other 2?
Right. Well, pathos has to do with the emotional response of your audience. A lot of advertising is based on pathos, as is a lot of political propaganda. Advertisers and politicians try to make you feel a certain way about a product or issue, instead of reasoning with you about the benefits of the product or the issue itself.
Now, does pathos change from audience to audience as well?
Certainly. The emotional response to banning smoking on campus, for example, is going to differ vastly depending on if your audience is smokers or non-smokers. Pathos definitely varies from audience to audience.
But can't you just explain to the smokers that smoking is bad for them because it could give cancer to them or to the non-smokers around them who breathe the second-hand smoke?
Now you are talking about the third element of the rhetorical triangle, logos. Logos deals with the structure of the argument itself. As you can tell, the word is closely associated with the word logic.
So what types of things appeal to logos?
Well, take statistics, for example. If we return to advertising, you can probably think of an example where advertisers have used some type of statistic to try to persuade consumers to purchase their product.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, would that be something like when some toothpaste company says that 9 out of 10 dentists recommend their brand?
Right. That's an excellent example.
But wouldn't that be more ethos than logos? After all, we were talking about dentists recommending products for teeth, right? Doesn't that mean the company is relying on the dentist's ethos to sell the product?
Wonderful, Delta. Now you're getting it. You're absolutely correct. They are appealing to both of these parts of the rhetorical triangle very overtly. All three parts of the rhetorical triangle are present in every deliberate act of communication. The only questions are, how subtle is the message being conveyed and what part of the rhetorical triangle is being emphasized in a given composition?
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So all the elements of the rhetorical triangle are always present in composition.
Right. And in your papers you need to figure out how to use all of them effectively. In college, logos is certainly the most emphasized, but the other two are also important.
Thanks, Professor. That was really helpful.
Not a problem, Delta. Please feel free to come chat with me anytime if you have further questions.